This election takes place at a moment in American history when we have a rigged economy with more income and wealth inequality than we have ever had in the history of our country. This election takes place at a time when the wealthiest people in America have never, ever had it so good, while 60% of people in our country are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to pay their rent or mortgage, struggling to afford childcare or higher education for their kids, struggling to afford health care, struggling to afford decent quality food, struggling how to figure out how they will retire with some shred of dignity after working their entire lives. This election takes place when the United States of America, the wealthiest country in the history of the world, has one of the highest rates of childhood poverty and senior poverty of almost any nation. And when in this rich country, 800,000 Americans, including many veterans, are homeless. This election takes place at a time when we have a president who has given $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%, has given $900 billion in tax breaks to the largest corporations in our country. This election is taking place when we have a corrupt campaign finance system which allows billionaires in both political parties to select the candidates they want and to buy elections. Ordinary Americans get one vote. You get one vote. Meanwhile, billionaires get the opportunity to spend as much as they want to elect the candidates they want. That is the context in which this election is taking place. And that is why Donald Trump is paying attention to this election. Ordinary people, working class people, black and white and Latino, Asian, gay and straight, coming together to take on the oligarchy. That is Trump's worst nightmare. And what Trump and his oligarchic friends know, that if New Yorkers come together and elect Zohran, we can do that from California to Maine. We can defeat the oligarchy. And what the oligarchs fear, what they fear is that people will start understanding that this country belongs to us, not them. And why don't we have a foreign policy which does not spend billions of dollars on a Netanyahu government starving children in Gaza? In other words, my friends, a victory for Zohran will help Americans understand that in the richest country in the history of the world, there is nothing we cannot accomplish.
Good evening, New York City! How are we all doing? Habibi, how are you? It is so good to see you all here tonight. Now, as you know, a politician is only as good as the team around them. So I have to ask that team to start up this teleprompter. Because right now, it's off the top of the dome. The idea of fundamentally changing who government serves in this city was unimaginable. Even if we gained momentum, they asked, how would we ever overcome the tens of millions of dollars in attacks that would follow? Yet we knew then what we know now. New York is not for sale. As young people showed up in record numbers, as immigrants saw themselves in the politics of their city, as seniors, once skeptical, dared to dream again, we spoke with one voice. New York is not for sale. Let them ring so loud that his puppet master in the White House hears us. New York is not for sale. "13 days after we announced our candidacy, Donald Trump won the presidency once again. The Bronx and Queens saw some of the largest shifts to the right of any counties in our country. No matter what article you read or channel you turned to, the stories seemed to be the same. Our city was headed to the right. We went to two of the places that saw the biggest swings to the right, Fordham Road and Hillside Avenue. These New Yorkers were far from the caricature of Trump voters. They told us they supported Donald Trump because they felt disconnected from a Democratic Party that had grown comfortable with mediocrity and gave its time only to those who gave millions. They told us they didn't believe in a system anymore that did not even pretend to offer solutions to the defining challenge of their lives, the cost of living crisis. Rent was too expensive, so were groceries, so was childcare, so was taking the bus, and working 2 or 3 jobs still wasn't enough. Trump, for all his many flaws, had promised them an agenda that would put more money in their pockets and lower the cost of living. Donald Trump lied. They pumped millions into this race, artificially lengthened my beard to make me seem menacing, painted our city as a dystopian hellhole, and worked night and day to divide the people of New York. They failed. We spent months working to convince the world that New Yorkers have a right to afford this city that we all love. Now, we are being forced to defend the idea that a Muslim is even allowed to lead it. These same big money donors and disgraced politicians have sought to rob us of our ambition because they do not think that you deserve the beauty of a dignified life. These are the robber barons of America, and they believe their money affords them a larger say than the rest of us. They do not want the equation to change. They will do everything they can to prevent their grip from weakening. The truth is as simple as it is non-negotiable. We are all allowed freedom. Each one of us, the working people of this city, the taxi drivers, the line cooks, the nurses, all those seeking lives of grace, not greed, we all get to be free. Because while Donald Trump's billionaire donors think that they have the money to buy this election, we have a movement of the masses. And we are a movement that is not afraid of what we believe. Now is one of those times. But in each of these moments, working people have reached into the darkness and reshaped our democracy. No longer will we allow the Republican Party to be the one of ambition.
Jelajahi cara baru mendapatkan informasi. Download MetroTV Extend sekarang.